Hey everyone, welcome to the very first edition of the Cory Maines Show. As mentioned in the previous video, this is going to be a new series on the MainesBros channel, one where I just simply talk about sports and pretty much all sports. Seeing as this is the debut of the Cory Maines Show, I thought I'd take a look at some other people that are going to be making some debuts very shortly in their careers. I'm talking about the NFL and the rookies, specifically the small group of people that are the quarterbacks. Specifically the five first round draft picks this past season. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, and also Lamar Jackson. I'm going to be looking at those five guys. I'm going to take a look at which one of those guys and how many of those guys will have the potential to be a starter this season. Also, I'll be taking a look at how well they could possibly do in the future. Not only in the future, but also this season, if they were to start and actually play. I'll also be looking at that for the guys that aren't going to be starting or are unlikely to start. I'll take a look at their chances to actually see the field this season as well. And other than that, let's get started. So obviously you got to start with Baker Mayfield, who is obviously the first overall pick for the Cleveland Browns. He does not look like he's going to start the season as the quarterback. We can see here, I have the depth chart pulled up. You can see Tyrod Taylor is currently the number one quarterback. Even Drew Stan's ahead of him on the depth chart as it stands right now, but really Mayfield's probably ahead of Stan. As you can tell, this is kind of a messed up depth chart right here. You can see Corey Coleman is still on the team. He's not. He's since moved on and gotten traded because he wanted to. We're going to come back to that in a little bit. But Baker Mayfield likely not going to start the season as the starter. He could play. This is the Browns we're talking about. So he could see the field simply because the Browns are just bad. If they have a terrible season or and the season's really doing really poorly, they might just throw him in and say, hey, he's the number one overall pick. We picked him at 1. Let's get him some playing time. It's definitely a possibility because the Browns are the Browns. They are notoriously bad for the last however many years. So we could definitely see the playing time on the field due to that. Taylor did get hurt here in the past preseason game, but it wasn't anything major because it was on his non-throwing hand, hurt his wrist. So he's going to be just fine. He'll be able to play. So not injuries are going to help him either. And I've seen in some shows saying that it's kind of a travesty. It's kind of stupid by the Browns for not playing Baker Mayfield or not planning on starting Baker Mayfield week 1 because he is the number 1 overall pick. But all you have to really say is remember Jared Goff. Jared Goff did not start right away well, were they still St. Louis? I think they were. I want to say they were still St. Louis. If not, it was probably the first year of being in L.A. But he did not start right away as the number 1 overall pick. But, I mean, he played the last couple of games or however many games or whatever. But then he got the chance the next season, this past season, and he played fantastic. Granted, he did have Todd Gurley helping him out a lot. But Goff held his own. He was considered one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So, not starting right away is not really the worst thing in the world, even if you are the number 1 overall pick. I mean, Brady or Rodgers never started right away, but, I mean, they weren't exactly first overall picks, but still. I think not starting right away is actually kind of a good thing in many ways because it allows you a chance to kind of mature, learn the playbook a little bit better while you're not playing. You don't get thrusted and thrown to the sharks right away. You get a chance to learn the NFL system, learn how everything works through film and just study. And I think it could be actually very helpful to sit out for a little bit. And we can see, I already mentioned guys like Brady and Rodgers who never started right away, had to wait their turn for different reasons. Rodgers because Favre retired, and Brady because Bledsoe got hurt. And that's fortunate, and that's something we're going to look at here with a couple of the other guys, the late guys. We're talking Rosen and Jackson. We're going to be talking about injuries for them as well. And possibly starting with that. But taking a look at the depth chart of the Cleveland Browns, if Baker Mayfield were to play, they got some good weapons on their team. You can see the running back spot, 3 pretty good running backs. Rookie Nick Chubb, Duke Johnson Jr., he's pretty good out of the backfield, and they got Carlos Hyde over from San Francisco. Pretty good, pretty decent, I would say, for running backs. Then you look at the receivers. Josh Gordon's going to come back. Forget about Corey Coleman. Coleman's not here. But Josh Gordon going to be coming back. Jarvis Landry came over. And then you got Lewis. But then David Njoku at tight end right there. He'll be a good target to throw to. So he's got some weapons, but they did lose their center, Joe Thomas, to retirement. So their line, it depends on their line a little bit. I know he was getting pressured pretty good in the game against Philly, the most recent preseason game. But, I mean, it's preseason. I don't know if you can read too much into that. But as it stands, Baker Mayfield seems like he could be a pretty decent, at least he has the weapons to do pretty decently. Not only the fact that he's also a decently mobile quarterback, he's not exactly known for it per se, but he can do it, obviously. I mean, he's not Peyton Manning in terms of running. He runs frequently, but he's not exactly, what's a good example? He's not exactly a Cam Newton, I guess. But nevertheless, we're going to look at the next guy, Sam Darnold, the 3rd overall pick. He went to the Jets, and he looks like he will be the Week 1 starter. Many sources are saying that he will probably start Week 1, and that is despite some competition at the quarterback position. He's got Teddy Bridgewater to deal with and Josh McCown, but he seems to be taking over both of them, playing pretty decently in the preseason, which is probably a big reason as to why. But otherwise, he does seem like he has the skills of a NFL-ready quarterback. He seems NFL-ready right now out of college, which is something that's good for a quarterback to have. He's more of a pocket presence rather than a runner, which is more attuned to what the NFL system is now or is currently. So he seems like a guy that can definitely do and make some waves this season, starting off right away. Not only that, in the long term, I think he also has lots of potential to be a star, and he has the market, obviously being in New York. But Sam Darnold, I think, is possibly, at least on the surface right now, no games played, 0 NFL games outside of preseason, that will have the greatest success in the league, just right off the bat. And if we take a look at his team that he's got around him this season, at least projected, you can see he's got Bilal Powell and Isaiah Crowell. Crowell coming over from the Browns. Crowell can be a good pounding runner. He can get some good runs. And then we see that he's got pretty much 4 decent wide receivers. He's got Jermaine Kearse and Quincy Enunwa, and then Robbie Anderson and Terrell Pryor. That's a very interesting wide receiver core, I would have to say. And then tight end, he doesn't really have anybody big. He just kind of has this Eric Tomlinson dude. I don't know anything about him, to be completely fair, and I didn't look him up before it started. So that's on my bad. That's my bad right there. But I think Darnold's got the weapons to throw to. I think that he could be successful with those weapons. Now, I mean, obviously his talent is going to be the decider. I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you yourself are terrible, you're not going to do really too much now, are you? So, yeah, Darnold, I think he definitely has a lot of potential. Then we move on to Josh Allen, who is the 7th overall pick this season. And he is the other guy. There's only 2 of them, of these guys. Josh Allen, I think, is the other one that has a chance to be in the starter. He seems to be in line to be the starter this season. And you can see in the quarterback depth chart here that A.J. McCarron and Nathan Peterman, you know, that Nathan Peterman guy came in one game and threw like 20 interceptions. Yeah, that's who he's got to contend with. A backup perennially to Andy Dalton and some guy that threw a shitload of picks in his one game. But, yeah, Josh Allen seems like he's going to be able to play. I don't know how well he's going to do. I mean, this last preseason game, he got rushed a lot, sacked a lot, 5 times, I think it was. The line has to step it up. That is what I have to say about Josh Allen, really. If he's going to be successful, especially year 1, this line's going to have to step it up. And if they have performances like they did in their last preseason game, Josh Allen's not going to have a good go of it. He might be considered a bust because of it. And that'd just be really a shame because it's really the offensive line that would be letting him down. And offensive lines are so important in football. I mean, just ask Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott how much a good offensive line can pay dividends for your team. Well, not only the team, but your performance as well. Do you really think Ezekiel Elliott would have been so dominant if he didn't have that Cowboys offensive line? Probably not. I mean, probably at least decent, but I don't know if he would have had that great of a season his rookie year without that offensive line. So looking at Josh Allen and his weapons, as I like to do right here, we can see the running back position. LaShawn McCoy, Chris Ivory. All right. You got McCoy, a little bit more of elusive passing out of the backfield type of back, the workhorse. And then you have Ivory, a little bit of a pounder, probably a goal line situation type of guy. Also, Traveris Cadet down there coming over. I think he was on the Saints last season. I don't pay enough attention to know, I guess. But then we look at the wideouts. We got, I'm guessing that's Zach Jones. I have no fucking idea. Andre Holmes, Kelvin Benjamin, and then Rod Streeter and this Jones. And then you got actually two decent tight ends, Charles Clay and Nick O'Leary. Definitely pretty decent. O'Leary from Florida State, drafted, I think, a couple years ago. Or a year ago. I don't fucking know. I don't keep up with the fucking draft enough to do this shit and talk like that. That's kind of not a good thing to admit if you're doing a sports show. But nevertheless, moving on, we are going to look at then. These are the two guys that are not going to likely, first of all, not likely going to start or even see the field. Baker Mayfield at least has a shot to see the field. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the fact that he is the number 1 overall pick. You kind of want to play him at some point this season, probably, if you can. But these other guys, I mean, granted, this next guy, he got drafted 10th, but a guy likely won't see the field, but I think he has better potential to see the field, actually, than some may think. And that simply has to do with, well, who he has to back up. But it's Josh Rosen, the guy out of UCLA, 10th overall pick to the Cardinals. And I don't think he's not obviously gonna start right away. I mean, he's freaking hurt right now, I guess. He hurt his finger in practice, was unable to play in the last preseason game, or they didn't let him play. He wanted to play, but they didn't let him play in the last preseason game against the Cowboys. But looking, you see he has this situation going on. What a shitty fucking arrow. Oh my God. I am sorry. Let's just fix that. Sam Bradford and Mike Glennon to beat out, essentially, to play. Now, I think a silver lining is it is Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford's known to have not only poor performances, but also short seasons in general. And that has to do with injuries. If you know Sam Bradford's career, if you follow Sam Bradford's career, you know he has a lot of injuries, especially with his time in St. Louis. He had a couple of season-ending ACL, knee injuries. And you know, if he gets injured, Rosen just might have to step in. I mean, that's one thing. Also, Sam Bradford could perform poorly, just so bad that they'd give Rosen a shot. He's the 10th overall pick after all. Why the heck not? If we're like 2-12 or some shit, why not put him in and give him a shot the last couple of games or something? Other than that, Glennon, I don't think he'd be a factor, I want to say, but I don't know. I'm not the Arizona Cardinals coaches or whoever makes that fucking decision. But looking at Rosen, if he were to somehow play, he's got David Johnson, obviously one of the best backs in the league. Aside that, he has I'm failing on his name. I think it's Chase Edmonds. I know it's Edmonds, but also running back Edmonds, rookie, also coming back. Fuck me. Who looked pretty good in their last preseason game. But Bryce Butler and Larry Fitzgerald, obviously huge, but also J.J. Nelson along with those guys. And at tight end, they have Jermaine Gresham there. And the Seals Jones fucker, who I have no idea who he is. But so those are his weapons. I mean, throwing it at Larry Fitzgerald, you're always going to have a good time with that. I mean, obviously, in the future, I don't know, because Larry Fitzgerald's going to be on the way out. Who knows what this team looks like? I don't know, 3 years from now, 2 years from now, however long it takes to get him into the system or integrated or actually playing football for this team. We'll have to see. That is a big question mark that we still have. Moving on, then, to our final guy, and that's Lamar Jackson, the last pick of the first round. Now, this is a guy who, if given the chance, could be very transcendent. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. But this is a guy who has the dual threat abilities of many guys before him. Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick, RG3 for a season, who coincidentally is one of the guys that he has to beat out. And currently on this depth chart, which we've already known is to be out of date in a way, he's already ahead of him. So that's good. But you have to go against this guy, this Joe Flacco guy. The franchise, essentially. You have to try to beat that guy out for your starting role. Good luck. He's not going to see the field this season unless Flacco gets injured or Flacco is just like the biggest pile of garbage you've ever seen in your fucking life. Because Flacco's going to play no matter what. Almost certainly. But Lamar Jackson, definitely dual threat quarterback, can do a lot on both sides, running and passing the ball. Definitely a threat if he sees action. Out of the 5 guys, I think he actually has the best preseason stats, probably because he's playing a lot more than the other guys in the preseason. That'd be my guess. I'd have to look that up more in depth, but I'm pretty sure he is just playing more than all the other guys. Because we consider Darnold, Allen, they're pretty much starters. They're not seeing a whole lot of reps all the time because they want to keep them fresh. The teams want to keep them fresh for the regular season. Baker, he's kind of the second string guy, so he doesn't see as much action. He probably sees a little bit more of action. But Lamar Jackson's like solid, like second, third string. You're going to see a lot of action out of him. I forgot about Rosen. Rosen's probably similar to Jackson. Well, Rosen didn't even play in his last preseason game, so he even has less time. But Jackson's been pretty good in the games that he's played in. Lots of rushing yards, I know. I think it was over 100 I saw. But he's doing really good, I guess, in this preseason. Not that he's going to see the field, but if he doesn't end up taking over the Baltimore Ravens organization, team, whatever, it's a pretty good team to take over, I would say. Just a good franchise in general. Decent. But we look at who he's got around him. Pretty much 3 good running backs in Alex Collins, Buck Allen, and Kenneth Dixon. I wouldn't say good. I'd say good enough. How about that? But Lamar Jackson's his own running back, really, when you get down to it. But then wideouts, Chris Moore, John Brown, Crabtree, Snead, and Perriman. 5 wideouts, and then there's Hurst, dude. Yeah. Hurst at tight end. He's got 5 wideouts that he can really throw to. Crabtree, Brown, and Snead all are coming over from different teams. Crabtree with the Raiders, Brown, I do believe, with the Cardinals. There's 2 different Browns on the Cardinals, and they have similar names, and I don't remember them. I get them confused all the time. And then Willie Snead from the Saints. Chris Moore from the Saints a couple years ago. And then Brashad Perriman, relatively, I think he got hurt his rookie season. Didn't play a lot. But he's got weapons to throw to, and he is his own weapon. If he were to play this season, and possibly in a couple of years, who knows? Joe Flacco, I feel like, is on the outs a little bit. I feel like he's on the outs a little bit, so I think Jackson could see the field sooner rather than later. I think probably the latest out of those guys, and possibly out of, I wouldn't say most of the other guys. I know definitely like a guy like Mason Rudolph, who is, I want to say a 3rd round pick from Oklahoma State to the Steelers. He'll probably be seeing the field soon, especially if he beats out the guys he's got to beat out, Josh Dobbs and Landry Jones. Because Roethlisberger is obviously on the way out soon, retirement. He's been mulling it for I think just this last season, maybe the season before a little bit. But he'll be on the way out soon. And so a guy like Mason Rudolph, who's a later round pick, could see the field very soon. But that's not what we're talking about. Kind of a non sequitur to everything else. But overall, I think that if we're going to do a kind of a wrap up here, I think Sam Darnold, best chance to not only start but do well this season. Allen's another guy that's likely to probably start, I would say, maybe. But I don't like his chances of doing very well this season due to his offensive line play and just overall lack of weapons to actually do stuff with. I'll go with Rosen and Jackson, 2 similar boats, behind some well-established quarterbacks who the only way that they're going to see the field really is if one of them get hurt, Joe Flacco and Sam Bradford. Rosen has a better chance. Simply he's probably, I wouldn't say more talented, but being a higher drafted player, it gives him a little bit more of a, how would you say, I don't know. Forget it. But it just has a better chance of actually playing because Sam Bradford's more of an injury-prone player, prone to actually being bad. Jackson, good luck. You got to, hopefully, you have to try to get past Joe Flacco somehow. But and then finally Baker Mayfield. It's hard to say. I think Baker Mayfield, if he can get past like ego, the mentality, I think it's just his maturity that's really a big question mark right now. I do believe he has the talent. His size is also a little bit of a question. It's hard to say with Baker, not only because of him personally, but also just the fact of what franchise he plays for. Although, if you do know, I am on the Browns bandwagon this season. I think they are headed back towards they're heading towards being a little bit better than they have been over the past couple of seasons. You know, maybe actually winning some games. But as for him, he's not really going to see the field unless, Taylor gets hurt possibly. But he could see the field if the Browns are bad again this season, having a hard time winning games, and they just say, well, fuck it, let's put fucking Mayfield in. He's the number 1 overall pick. Let's put him in, get him some games under his belt, and then he can use those games as kind of teaching tools as what he can do and prepare for next season, where he might actually start. What do you guys think? What do you think? Who do you think is going to be the best of those quarterbacks? Maybe you think it's one of the other guys that might be a better quarterback, like Mason Rudolph or whoever the fuck else that got picked. The other, there's 13 total, so I guess, 7, 8, unless you're whatever. But do you think one of those guys is going to be the best out of the draft class? Let me know down in the comments section below. Let me know who you think is going to be the best of those guys possibly. Who do you think could see the field, who's not going to see the field? Anything that I mentioned in this video, feel free to say whatever about it to me, about this shit. I don't fucking care. It's whatever. But nevertheless, I've been Cory Maines. This is the Cory Maines Show. I hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, goodbye.